This video is about OET reading. You know, clinicians read differently. In OET reading, you are tested on the way healthcare professionals process information, like fast scanning for facts, careful reading for meaning, and balanced judgment for options or opinions. Today, I'll give you a complete step by step system which includes concepts, techniques, examples, and explanation so you can walk into test day with a clear plan. Grab a pen. I will ask you to pause and try questions as we go. Okay? Let's see section 1. This is about what OET reading really measures. It's just a quick orientation, timing, and format. Okay? 60 minutes in total. Part A equals to 15 minutes, 20 questions, 4 short text on one topic. So you will be expecting tasks such as matching, short answer, and sentence completion. If you move on to part B and C equals to 45 minutes. Part B, you will be getting 6 short workplace texts, 1 MCQ each, so total 6 questions. And part C, 2 long text and 8 MCQs each, so 16 questions in total. And if you look for the skills assessed for these 3 parts, the first one is expeditious reading, which is fast, targeted scanning, especially for part A, and careful reading for purpose, to get a gist, and for detail. This will be applicable mostly in part B, and for inference, attitude, viewpoint, and overall meaning, this will be applicable for part C. And remember the timing, as I told you, part A, 15-minute hard stop. Part B could be like 10 to 12 minutes. And part C, 33 to 35 minutes. Okay? Now, let's move on to section 2. OET loves paraphrase. Stems rarely copy wording from the text. Build reflexes. So you have to come up with the clinical process words such as assess equal to evaluate, initiate equal to start, suspend equal to stop temporarily, escalate equal to refer or seek senior support based on the context. And you should be aware of the policy language when we are talking about the policy documents. Like if we say mandatory, then it means required, discouraged, which is not recommended, discretionary, up to clinical judgment. So try to be aware of these vocabulary and their synonyms. And remember about the attitude markers also, like some of the words such as cautious, that means reserved, and if you're telling optimistic, then confident or hopeful, skeptical, doubtful. When it is about casualty or contrast, instead of therefore, they can use the word consequently. Instead of however, they can use nevertheless, despite, in spite of. Got it? So when you read a question, you have to predict synonyms you might see. Then you can hunt those in the text. Got it? Now, let's move on to part A. This part A checks if you can assemble accurate clinical information quickly from multiple short text. It could be a leaflet, emails, abstracts, guidelines, and you will be answering via matching, short answer, sentence completion. Okay, now let's move on to our 5-step maps. MAPSS. The first one is map the set, 60 to 75 seconds. You have to skim titles or headings of text from A to D. You can just scribble a one-line label. A equal to patient leaflet or B is equal to clinical memo, whatever. You just need to skim the titles and try to make a note of it in one line. Then anchor keywords, which stands for A in maps, like numbers, units, time frames, populations, contraindications. Try to anchor the keywords. Third one is pair questions, stands for P. For each question, you have to predict which text is most likely. Okay? And fourth one is scan for answers. Yes, strictly very important for part A. Okay? And the fifth one is stop losses. If you're stuck after 25 to 30 seconds on one time. You can star it and move on. Return at the end. Okay, let's move on to part A example. So if you see here, the topic is seasonal influenza post-exposure prophylaxis. And we have four texts, text A, text B, text C, and text D. If you want, you can just pause the video, read the passages in each text, understand it, then we can move on to the questions. Okay, let me move on to the question here. The first question is the matching one. Which text mention who should definitely receive PEP? And the second question is the short answer. What time window after exposure is emphasized for starting PEP? And the question 3 is sentence completion. For adults, the recommended oseltamivir PEP dose is dash for dash. And the fourth one is matching. Which text mentions side effects? And the fifth question, again, short answer, name one factor associated with greater benefit from PEP in the trial. If you want, you can just scroll back to the previous slide where you can find the four texts and try to find out the answer for these 5 questions. Now let's move on to our answers. For the first one, the answer is text B. The question you remember, right? Which text mentioned who should definitely receive PEP? So for this one, if you go to text B, in text B, it is clearly mentioned. If you see here, it lists high risk groups like pregnant people, aged care facilities, cardiac or pulmonary disease, chronic diseases. Right. So text B is the correct option. And for the second question, what time window after exposure is emphasized for starting PEP? For that question, within 48 hours. Okay, if you see here in text A, and also in text C it is given. Okay, either is acceptable, but where it is written exactly is in text A, 48 hours, within 48 hours, right? And for the third question, I'll just move on to the third question. For adults, the recommended oseltamivir PEP dose is dash for dash. So if you see that it is given in text D, 75 mg once daily for 10 days, right? So text the exact wording is required. You need to write the exact wording. And the question 4, which text mentioned the side effects? Text A, if you see text A mentions nausea and headache, usually mild and short-lived. So here the side effects are given. Text A is the correct answer. And the final question, the fifth question is short answer that you need to look for. Name one factor associated with greater benefit from PEP in the trial. For that, you need to check in text C. If you see text C, adherence or early initiation. Either you can write adherence and early initiation, or if you're writing adherence or early initiation, both are correct. Remember, for part A, which is the micro skill required, is exact wording matters for completion or for short answer. Don't paraphrase quantities. Okay? So that's all for today's video. Kindly like, share, and subscribe for more OET tips. See you in the next video. Bye bye.